I didn't hear any of that because you were cutting out.
God damn it. Thank you, Comcast, for your awesome fucking internet.
And that's our pre-roll. that's our cold opening.
You're listening to Nothing Important. Please enjoy the show.
That's great. That works.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Nothing Important Podcast. Insert witty tagline here. My name is Bryan, and with me, as always, is my co-host Dave. Dave, good evening.
Good evening, Bryan.
Don't always sound so excited, Dave. It should be fun. It's Friday night. We're half-assing a podcast to get it out for this week. You can be at least a little bit enthusiastic.
See, that's what I've been starting to realize is that my Eeyore-ness and my the fact that I'm very hard to read sometimes, I think is starting to have somewhat of an effect on my social life.
That may be. Before we go into that real quick, I just had a thought. You're using a Mac, right? Like you use a Mac for Pro Tools and everything that you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I record using Audacity, this weird M audio setup that you gave me, into a Windows computer.
Yes.
And as we do these podcasts, I'm coming to realize that there is no more obnoxious sound in the world than the Windows noise whenever you change the volume.
Really?
You're looking at me like you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about.
Well, on the Mac, the old operating system, it would have like a bloop, and that was it. You change the volume and the bloops get louder. And then with the new operating system that I just downloaded, installed, it doesn't do that. There's no volume to correlate when you adjust the volume, so you really don't know how loud you are.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense though, because those are basic like notches and clicks to show that you're actually doing something when you don't have the tactile sensation of touching a dial, right? But that's not what Windows does. It hasn't done it for Windows 8. I don't even think there's a Windows 9, but Windows 10, once again, whenever you change the volume, it always plays like a 3-second noise to let you know that you changed the volume. But what sucks about it is if you try to increase the volume in small increments, every time you just hear the loud ass chime. So it's like ding, good. And then you barely ding, ding. Anyway, the most obnoxious thing is we're trying to get this sound figured out. And the reason why I really want to get the sound figured out, I guess we could kind of start talking about it a bit. It appears that in February, I won't give away full details yet, but in February 2016, it appears that you and I will have at least 4 shows on terrestrial radio.
That's right. We're going to be legit broadcasters.
Yeah. If you want to call that, it's totally a new experiment because we started this podcast for several reasons. And one of the reasons was just to experiment with it and just kind of fuck around with it. And also, to help you out, get your chops and stuff as you're building your career. And for me, because I don't have anything better to do. And so I always try to think of things outside the box and been talking with people, researching various things. And yeah, as far as it goes, there will be at least 4 episodes of a Nothing Important broadcast, which is absolutely different from the Nothing Important podcast, because we're going to have to get used to not only being on the clock, but we're going to have to get used to not cussing as much. And it's going to be very difficult for me
Bullshit
not to say
fucking
the F word.
FCC regulations.
Right? But so it's funny that
we're taking the band out of the garage, and it's like we're going to go play the parking lot at Lollapalooza.
Right. You know how bands, when they're like making money but not exactly surviving, but they're doing okay and making money, and like one night they'll play the club where they can do whatever they want, and then the next day they'll play like the grand opening of a Chuck E. Cheese's.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of what we're doing with the radio. It is going to be AM radio, which first off, not only do I think is absolutely hilarious, but it kind of excites me that we're going to be on AM radio. So yeah, February 2016, we're going to give a lot more details between now and then, but I think that it's going to be a fun experiment. We're selling ad spaces, and especially for these first 4 episodes, ad space is going to be super cheap. Like I'm just going to do it like 30-second plugs for like $30. So if anybody out there wants to plug your business, website, or even another podcast on our Nothing Important broadcast, send me an email at host@nothingimportantpodcast.com. We could talk about it. It'll be $30 for a 30-second spot. I have a couple already spoken for, so over the course of a month, I have about 14 more spots that I can fill. You can be part of our experiment, and we don't even know how it's going to go because it's going to be in a major, not like a Chicago type market, but it's going to be in an area that is a pretty decent sized market, especially more than what we should be on. I mean, just passive listening, people flipping through the dial, there'll probably be more people that hear us on the show just passive listening, which is something I've talked about before on the podcast, than probably find us a day on iTunes.
Probably. Although it is AM radio.
Yeah, but AM radio is super popular. See, people have this misconception that like AM radio and talk radio isn't popular, but that's not true. If you look up the like 6 most popular radio programs, all of them are on AM talk radio stations. Talk radio is incredibly huge. I mean, it's just like podcasting, because essentially what it is conversation, like conversation is important to the human experience, and everybody wants to eavesdrop and be part of the conversation. And that's just kind of what AM evolved into, because it used to be AM and FM, and just depending on what radio you had. And AM used to have a lot of music stations, and they all kind of jumped to FM because the frequency carries the stereo signal a little bit better. But AM actually travels farther, and it has a wider base of people listening to it.
Yes,
so I'm pretty excited to do the Nothing Important broadcast. It's going to be a completely different show than the Nothing Important podcast, or even It's All Good Men podcast. There's that Eeyorness again, Dave. See?
Yes.
So if we're bringing it back around, we're going to be on the clock, man, when we record these, because we're going to record them like late night.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a taping of like a late night show, like Late Night with David Letterman or whatever the fuck his show was? Have you ever been to a taping of that?
No, I have not.
They actually record those shows in real time. So even though they're recorded at like noon, the day of air, they record them in real time. So they do it live. They just record it.
So it's live on tape.
Yeah, yes, I guess essentially live on tape. So, and I think that's just so all the commercial beats and everything flows naturally as when you would watch it at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Right. So that's exactly how we're going to have to do the Nothing Important broadcast. Is we're going to have to get used to being on the clock, my friend, and you're going to have to be a little less Eeyore.
I'm working on it. Not really. Not that hard.
But
I'm not
really
an excitable person.
I know. My wife gets on me about that all the time, but I'm excited about this.
How I'm not excitable?
Yeah, my wife is just like, God, fucking Dave is totally unexcitable all the goddamn time.
We'll tell her to try harder.
So anyway, folks, keep an eye on nothingimportantpodcast.com. We'll have more information. If you want to advertise for, I guess not even introductory, but this is like for the first leg of our experiment, $30 for your advertisement. I have 16 slots total. I think I have 14 more to sell. We're selling it really low because this is kind of our first foray and experiment into doing this. But what that'll get you is your advertisement on the Nothing Important broadcast, which is in a major, which is in
a market,
decent sized metropolitan. Yeah, which is in, hold on. which is in a decent sized market. So that'll be available to tens of thousands of people. And of course, you're going to have a mention on the Nothing Important podcast and It's All Good Man, which also guarantees tens of thousands of ears. Plus, we'll throw your link and everything on the website as well. So we're really kind of trying to make this like a good deal, and we're kind of playing with a lot of things to see how this experiment goes. But we totally invite everybody to participate.
Just remember, that's like 1/1,000,000th of a price of a Super Bowl commercial for about 1/10,000,000th the size of the audience.
Exactly. Exactly. So check out nothingimportantpodcast.com for more information.
And now an excerpt from the book of things Dave doesn't care about.
Basically, what city you come from and how badass that makes you.
Like yelling like, I'm from New York. I'm busting balls.
This was an excerpt from the book of things Dave doesn't care about.
You're listening to Nothing Important.
All right, Dave. So I just got back from another vacation, man.
Yeah, it's like it's getting to the point where it seems like being home is your vacation from taking vacations.
It's been a good year. I'm not gonna lie. We've been fortunate enough to go on several trips. A few of them paid for by other people just by nature of work. But you'll be happy to know this time I didn't die, but I did get bullied.
Uh-oh. Did you get bullied by the fucking TSA again?
No, actually, I had a somewhat pleasant experience with the TSA this time, which should have been my tip-off that something bad was going to happen while we were at Disney World.
This time you just got caressed while they were searching you and not forcibly, like, patted down?
No, I didn't even get pat down. For those of you that may not have heard, me and the TSA have a very contentious relationship where every time I fly, and now this is going on years, I get the special pat down, and this is the first time I didn't get patted down like I did something wrong. So
nice.
So kudos to the TSA for not being complete shitheads just this one time. So we go to Mickey's Merry Christmas Party at Disney World, and we're waiting in line. You know, you're going through the queue, and the beautiful thing about Mickey's Merry Christmas Party is they only sell a limited amount of tickets, and it's in the evening, and you can go on the rides and all that. And I was standing in line for the safari ride at Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the very short line, so we were pleased about that. So it was only about a half an hour wait from where we were. And in front of me were some Australian tourists who were just standing there. And then it was my wife and I and our family. And then these women walk up, and the whole time they can't shut the fuck up about being from New York. And you people in New York, nobody gives a shit that you're from New York. Now, I love New York City, and I've been there several times. It's an amazing city. I love it. I thought about moving there when we moved to Chicago. Everybody I've interacted with from there while I was there has been really nice, but it seems like something happens when New Yorkers leave New York. They can't shut up about being from New York.
You got to carry the flag.
It's always like you can't mess with me because I'm from New York. Like everybody's gonna be like, oh, well, I guess we can't mess with that person. They're from fucking New York. Like don't stand too close to them in the grocery lane because they're from New York. Nobody gives a shit that you're from New York.
Not even New York. New York doesn't give a shit that you're from New York.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. So what happened is I guess apparently before we walked into line, these Australian guys told the people that ended up behind me not to cut the line because I guess they tried to jump through the queue, and these Australian guys embarrassed them. So they went backwards through the line and then got behind us because then they wouldn't be cutting in front of us. See where I'm going with that?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole time we're standing there, we have no idea what's going on, and these ladies, why they won't shut up about being from New York is because they were quote unquote busting balls of these Australian guys that were standing in front of us with their children. So they were yelling over my wife and I to these Australian people and saying completely ridiculous shit like, these foreigners think they can come to our country and do what they want. And then I'm like, these foreigners probably paid $5,000 per plane ticket to fucking fly from Australia. Like,
Right. And then they're standing in line like the rest of the civilized people.
right. And they're ignoring these people who are yelling over us. And it's getting so ridiculous. I started counting how many times they said they were from New York. And I'm like laughing with my wife. I'm like, okay, that's number 7. The reason why they shouldn't mess with her is because she's from New York. So the guy from Australia has enough of it, and he turns around and he's just like, zip it. Like, just zip it. Which was awesome, because that's how you would talk to like a teenager, and that's exactly how this woman was acting. So now this blonde woman, this little blonde woman is like, oh, hold my spot. She walks around us and gets up in this guy's face and starts yelling at him about how she will say whatever the fuck she wants and how she's from New York. And so the Australian guy is just like, you're not going to hit me or do anything, so get your fat ass back over there. So, said it really loud. Everybody stares at this lady. She gets behind my wife and I, and again, now she just starts jawing again, like yelling past us. And my wife and I are laughing. The dude kind of smirks and he looks at me, and I'm just like, I apologize for my fellow countrymen. I have no idea. And he's like, it's all right, mate. He's like, I don't judge the lot of you for the one of you. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. I'm like, well, very cool. So the woman behind us heard this and just started like berating us. Like, so now she was making passive aggressive comments towards us, which now normally, you know me, I'm game. I'm like, all right, cool, game on. Like, let's see who's going to get louder and more embarrassing. But
right.
I was in such a weird situation because we have our au pair from Thailand who didn't understand half of what the lady was saying. And I have my 2 little kids with me. You know, I have a 4-year-old and a 10-month-old. And now I'm stuck in this position to where I can't make the memory of Disney World with her. Daddy fought with some lady in line. You know what I mean? Like, I can't ruin it. So my wife just looks at me, and I'm just like, okay, I got this under control. Just ignore people like this. Like, all she wants is a confrontation.
Oh, that's so weird.
All she wants is a confrontation. I'm like, so if we ignore her, it is just going to chap her ass. Trust me. We waited 40 minutes to get to the front of the line because the safari ride, the thing about the safari ride is you go through and there's actual live animals. So like live animals like zebras and giraffes and shit will stand in the pathway of the Jeep and they won't move until somebody feeds them. It's like they figured out how to get fed, so they'll stand in front of the vehicles. And they won't move until they're full. So sometimes like a fucking giraffe can delay the ride like 20 minutes. So even though we were close to the front of it, we got stuck there because a fucking zebra or some shit wouldn't get off the path. So the whole time, this just leaves this lady like yelling like, I'm from New York. I'm busting balls. I'm from New York and I bust balls. Like, oh, you got to bring your nanny. Got to bring your nanny to Disney World. I raised like 5 kids. I'm busting balls. And like, she was like calling people. I swear to God, on her cell phone, she's like, no, yeah. I'm in the safari ride, totally busting this guy's balls. She's like, I'm New York. I could do that. Like the whole time, like everything was, I'm busting this guy's balls and I'm from New York. And the whole time we're ignoring her. And she's like, yeah, acting like you can't hear me like it's not happening. You're too scared to talk to me because I'm from New York. I'm busting balls. Right? It's like she's like a parody of herself. And we finally get up to where... Oh, it was so bad. And there was like 4 of them. So this lady starts calling the Australian guy still in front of us white trash because now she's like fighting 2 wars, like us who are ignoring her and the Australians that aren't ignoring her. And she starts calling the Australian people white trash. And I just turned around and I'm like, you're calling them white trash, but you have tassels on your fucking t-shirt. Bam. Mic drop. Game over. Because I don't care how much of an asshole or how much from New York you are or how much you're busting people's balls because you're from New York. Nothing will ever be more white trash than tassels on a t-shirt.
You might as well have 3 wolves howling at the moon on it.
Exactly. All right. And that's my story about Florida. So, it was so awesome. Like because like I really wanted to fight that lady, you know, and I've told Kristen, I'm like, well, first off, you know, I would never let her do anything to harm any of us. You know, I got it under control.
Right.
But we ignored her for literally 40 minutes, but it was awesome. I'm like, you're calling them white trash, but you have tassels on your t-shirt. And it was just like, just like record stop. See what I did, and see that was strategic. What I did is I bided my time.
Right.
I was biding my time for the really good zinger that would shut her up. And then I just calmly turned to her.
You know what you did? You Holly Holmes'd her.
I did what?
You Holly Holmes'd her.
I Holly Holmes'd her. Yeah, exactly, man. Boom. That was like my verbal kick to the side of her face.
Which, by the way, that was actually one of my favorite things recently because I was listening to some pregame about that fight, the Rousey fight. And the guy was literally saying, he's like, the only way like I can see Holmes winning by just having one shot to kick her in the head and knock her out. And he's like, but it's not going to happen. That's exactly what fucking happened.
I didn't hear any of that because you were cutting out.
God damn it. Thank you, Comcast, for your awesome fucking internet.
And that's our pre-roll. That's our cold opening. Thank you, Comcast, for fucking internet.
What I said was I was listening to the radio before the fight, and the analyst was talking about how Holmes' best chance to win, and probably the only way she could win, is to wait for a hole in the defense of Rousey and kick her upside the head and knock her out. And then he's like, but it's not going to happen. And then that's totally exactly what happened.
Well, it's kind of what happened, but she dominated that entire fight.
I did hear that, yeah. I didn't see the fight. I only saw the kick.
Ronda Rousey is kind of like a one-trick pony where, like, she's tough, you know, obviously, and could take punches and stuff, but her whole thing is you know, she's a grappler and has never been tested. And then she finally ran into somebody who's a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger than her that she couldn't bully, who could punch her in the mouth every time she got close. And then when Ronda Rousey tried to take her down, her judo wasn't working anymore because this bigger, stronger girl was like, get the fuck off me. Then ended up taking her down, which fucking totally broke her spirit because not only did she take away your bread and butter, but like there's nothing you can do to prevent her from imposing her will on you. So then in the last round, you know, she just made her look like a chump and took her opening and kicked her right in the fucking head. which is the way it should be.
That is the way it should be.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow Nothing Important online at nothingimportantpodcast.com. Find us on iTunes, on Twitter at NotImportantPC, and you can also find us on Facebook. Nothing Important is recorded with help from Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois. Thanks for being awesome.